Program Director and Master of Ceremonies. Some of us come from villages that are having sophistications of culture that once someone becomes a Master of Ceremonies, their title is quite huge and they have a lot of responsibilities. But for today, we can accord you that responsibility accordingly. Let me mention that before I start speaking, that I'm not a very good public speaker. So if I struggle, just finish whatever you would have wanted to finish for me, wherever you are seated. So let me start with the director for the Center for African Statistics, who has just finished addressing us online, my brother and friend, and a colleague that I've known for quite some time, or throughout my career as a professional, Mr. Oliver Chinganya. He has already touched on issues of challenges we are having on the African continent. And if the audience allows me here, I potentially will also touch briefly on that. Let me take note of the Regional Technical Director of the UNFPA for East and Southern Africa, Mr. Frederick Okwayo, and he came to address us as well. And he sits next to, you know, the UNFPA has a lot of titles. My brother Tapiwa, Jamba, who we have seen each other a number of times. But let me take note of the strategic advisor to the Center for African Statistics at the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, and our brother, Mr. Garnet Compton from ONS UK. But as if counting in the census, counting Olivers is not enough, I would want to take note of the Chief of International Program Center, the Population Division from the US Census Bureau, Mr. Oliver Fisher. So we have two Olivers. In the event we vote, we will have both of them. And the Chief Demographic and Social Statistics Center for African Statistics at the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, Mr. William Muhava, who is here, and a great friend and a comrade in the field of work on the continent. Let me take note of StatsSA, the executive management team that sits on that table where Soli is. But not only that, there are so many colleagues that I've seen from StatsSA here that if they were to raise their hands, our friends that are thinking we should vote to see which country wins by attendance, like Colin from Kenya, would be dwarfed. So let's not even start voting. Members of the expert group, and indeed colleagues joining us online, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my greatest pleasure and quite a convivial to extend a warm greetings to all of you this morning. I have already taken note of my brother Oliver, who is joining online. But let me indicate that as we gather here in Pretoria, we may lament about the 2020 round of population and housing censuses. It's only a few months to go, and it is closing. So, in one of the dialects from Malawi, they say, "Maji kataika sauleka." You never cry over spilled milk. The 2020 round of population and housing censuses is gone. And what we can do from it is to learn from it and take lessons for the next round. So it is quite critical that as we gather here, we are gathering emerging from New York, where the principles and recommendations for the population and housing censuses at a global level was being discussed. And it is critical that when we gather here, we take the baton sufficiently enough going ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, a census is rather one of the most complex processes, especially that it galvanizes everyone in the nation during peace times. We know that during war, nations are galvanized. Everyone is affected, but nobody wants war. We want peace. So let us vote for the censuses at all times, because that is the only thing that can bring us together during peace times, so that we can know every aspect of our society about where our people live and play. Having emerged from the 2020 round ourselves, South Africa, we were given an option to run a census in this round or wait for the 2020 round. We weighed options, and the esteemed brains from the organization that sit there, the leadership of the organization, together with an independent body, which is the Statistics Council, came to me and said, and their job is to give the Statistician General advisory. And the Statistician General, if he wishes, can slip over some of the ideas that are brought. So I slept over, and when I woke up, the decision was made that we were going to run a census in the middle of COVID-19. It is not an easy decision to make. We went into field, we didn't even know when COVID-19 would end. As if that was not enough, 2 of our provinces went into political eruptions, having unrest. And while we were in the field, we had nature visited us in the form of disasters. So we had floods in 3 of our provinces. And we came back. We went back to conduct the post-enumeration survey. Our undercount is the highest in the world, recorded, 31%. But we were able to make adjustments, and with a lot of work we have done with many of you here. Some of you were camping at our organization for a very long time, and we made the data available. With the post-enumeration survey, we made adjustments, we released the data. The census has become a political football now in South Africa. It has been discussed by technicians, experts, academics. The politicians have carried it through. Some political parties have even said, possibly we should have a rerun of the census. And the people who started the debate in the public space said, no, we didn't mean a rerun. We just said we wanted to raise some few issues here and there, and issues that we have gone public about. So as of last week, Friday, we appeared before the Portfolio Committee of Parliament, which is our entry into Parliament. And we had to go through explanations to take Parliament through. So these are some of the issues that in conducting censuses, countries have to go through. And I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, that when we are solid on methods, we will not cave under any political pressure. No statistician in official practice will cave under political pressure. Because we don't, when you take up a job as a statistician, especially when you say we'll conduct censuses, you know that you put your career on the block. But we work with no fear. And please be assured that there are no fears that this statistician standing in front of you will be fired from office because of political pressure. We don't go through such political pressures. We argue our technical case. So I want to say this because I want us to know that even in countries that we have conducted censuses, out of 54 countries on the African continent, in the 2010 round of population and housing censuses, 4 countries didn't conduct their censuses. That is Central Africa Republic, Eritrea, Somalia, and Congo DRC. Somalia did conduct a large-scale sample survey. Now, the director of the African Center for Statistics said only 37 went to conduct their censuses now. So it means we are lagging behind as the African continent. So we need a different mechanism, and some of these issues go beyond just making available the results there. The political navigations require that we work together to assist not only on the African continent, but even beyond, especially in developing countries where such challenges still lie. We know that in the 2020 round of population and housing censuses, those who conducted their censuses indicated that 72% went on the main form of collection, computer-assisted personal interviews. And there are those who went to pen-to-paper personal interviews, 43%, and computer-assisted web interviews, 35%. We need to start sketching how we will conduct censuses in the future. One of the biggest challenges we are facing in South Africa is hard to count areas, not on your farms or in rural areas. People are staying in gated communities, in urban centers, and they are hard to count. We will have to come with creative ways. And it's no joke. One professor, when he was studying a neighborhood that was difficult to count, Professor Charles Simpkins, went to the sewer and started measuring to start getting estimates of how many people maybe directing human waste to such sewers. So I'm saying we'll have to come with reality, colleagues. The world is changing, and it's changing at a faster pace. And it's not going to wait for us. I know that when you mention certain names in public fora, you actually invoke high levels of emotions. But history, and I repeat, history is no pastime. It is a reality. Because it is the lessons of yesterday that give us hope to hold on for today and to have hope forever and ever of tomorrow. So when you go to northern Pakistan, there was a compound where Osama bin Laden stayed. And he decided, him and those who stayed there, decided that they were not going to ban trash because the authorities would know how many people are there using trash from a dustbin or rubbish bin. That's a lesson for statisticians. How many of us are going to go into those trash, the rubbish bins, and estimate how many people are staying in this compound when we can't reach them? How many of us will go to water taps and want to estimate the volume of water being used? It will assist us know the hard to reach. So let me indicate that in the next few days, as we gather virtually and physically, we are going to have a diverse we are having a diverse level of representation amongst ourselves, both from statistical agencies, international agencies, and UN entities. And I can see that the program is quite exciting to ignite levels of debate and discussions that will make us emerge out of Pretoria better and better prepared and planning better for the next round. So as we move forward, lest we forget, and indeed, lest we forget, it's our statistics, albeit with limitations sometimes, that tell us that we work on averages and we don't break confidentiality. But even as we do so, we always know that behind the numbers that other members of the public carry as abstract is human life. And human life has equal worth. For those who haven't come to appreciate that through our numbers, we are riding a horse that explains the story of human life on its equality of worth, we have lost the cause as statisticians. Lest we forget. 3,105, mainly young people, perished in the year 2023 trying to cross the Mediterranean Sea into Europe. This year, it hasn't concluded. 884. Those are the documented ones. There are many that are not documented. Many that the post-enumeration survey would say they are missing. And they are going there in search of better avenues and greener pastures. We should know that the responsibility we have as statisticians should change the world so that many of our sons and daughters, with better planning that our countries will have opportunities here at home. And when they leave, they should leave through the right channels and through the appropriate gate. Not through the sea, where many of them don't know whether they will arrive. And because I've spoken about the appropriate gate, in ancient Jerusalem, there used to be a gate called through the eye, it was the eye of the needle. So the rich, the poor, the laden, everyone carrying camel and otherwise had to walk through that. Because it brought equality. But we know, even as we gather here, that we haven't achieved enough equality. I'm seated here at the high table, and I'll spare not myself too. This high table where I'm seated, it's all of us, the boys' choir. The girls' choir is not there. Almost every table I'm looking here is dominated by the boys' choir. Where is the girls' choir? Because if the world was the same and the world was equal, and if we were counting and we were saying there are more women in our countries, we would see women even represented in our gatherings and our meetings. So the story of the girl child, no matter how much we say we don't carry emotions as statisticians, we're telling ourselves a lie. Because no man would want to see his own daughter, his own wife, his own partner, his own mother left behind. So why, when we are rising in our careers, women are left behind, yet they have equal opportunities when we go to school? What happens along the way? This is a matter we need to go and discuss, not here, including in our own home countries. Because if we don't do that, it will be as good as what we experienced here in South Africa, where some sectors of society didn't want apartheid to end, so that other sectors shouldn't join. So an exclusion of women, even in positions of power, is a serious matter we should never disregard. Friends, I told you I'm no public speaker. And if I say something you don't like, finish for me. But one thing I was told very well when I was growing up in the village by the elders, I was taught by the elders, is to tell truths and truths only, and tell no lies, no half-truths, and tell nothing false. I was raised by a team of elderly men and women so that I can learn from them, because when they grow old, they only tell truths. In conclusion, there's an African proverb that says that if you want visitors, you must leave your front door open. And indeed, we have left the front door open. And I wish you the best of the discussions in these few days. And of course, it's a Heritage Month in South Africa. So the celebrations will be later in the month, around the 24th. But can we show and demonstrate our heritage while we are here? And let me thank and express my gratitude to the UNECA, the Office of the National Statistics at ONS UK, the UNFPA, and indeed StatsSA. Program Director, I need to apologize to you. I didn't have enough time to prepare for a shorter input. And I didn't have enough time to prepare points that I think we would want to consider. This is the least I can give you. And let me thank you, Program Director, for I know you will give me no other time to speak again. I thank you.